Do you remember that massive 10-year spending plan President Biden laid out during his first State of the Union back in late April? Well, House Democrats have turned that plan into a 2,500-page bill aimed at expanding America's social safety net as well as combating climate change. Entitled the Build Back Better Act, the $3.5 trillion plan will provide from 2 years of free community college to universal pre-K and from Medicare expansion to extended child tax credit. And not to mention a multi-layered approach to completely move to green energy sources. But there's a problem, and I'm probably guessing that you figured it out. Republicans are against it, so Democrats are utilizing a budgetary process called reconciliation to get the bill enacted. Now, there's one catch, however. It requires a yes vote by every single Senate Democrat. Two Democratic senators, Kyrsten Sinema and Joe Manchin, have already announced that they will vote no unless the price comes drastically down to less than $1.5 trillion. Now, in response to stalling the reconciliation bill, Democratic Congresswoman from Missouri, Cori Bush, called out the lack of diversity representation in preparing these extremely important bills. She told CNN, and I quote, "Who is at the table? I would love to see someone who represents a predominantly black district to be at the table." When I think about how often Kyrsten Sinema gets to go to the table, to the White House, and she does not represent the community that I represent. Can she speak and advocate? Absolutely, but she is not doing that. So joining me now is BNC contributor Tezlyn Figaro and also the host of Straight Shot No Chaser. I'm getting drunk saying it. Straight Shot No Chaser podcast. And I also have political commentator and GOP strategist Melik Abdul also here joining us. Thank you both so much for being here.
Thanks, Shannon.
Always.
Now, Melik, I want to start with you. Do you agree with Representative Cori Bush's statement there about representation?
Yeah, well, that sounds actually good for a talking point. But the fact is that we actually have a black vice president of the United States. And so whether that was the 200 women last year or even the 100 men who signed on to the letter last year to Joe Biden, Charlamagne tha God, P. Diddy, Van Jones, and many others who said that you had to choose a black woman. It was time for a black woman VP. I actually think that the responsibility are on those groups. They're not showing up at Black Lives Matter Plaza. They're not showing up at Congress to help Cori Bush in what she's actually saying here. The responsibility, sure, is on Congress and the responsibility is on the White House, but we also have a responsibility. And when it comes to pushing these policies forward, it actually started as soon as Joe Biden got in office because he said that police commission that I promised in my Lift Every Voice and Sing plan, we're no longer going to do the police commission because civil rights leaders said, we don't need that. We just need the George Floyd Act. So sure, there should be much more representation in Congress across the board on both sides of the aisle. But when you have a black vice president of the United States, I don't know how you simply can say we need people of color or we need someone who's a representative for black people at the table when the second most powerful person in the world is a black woman.
So, Tezlyn, what do you think about this? Is the VP enough? And to Bush's statement, when talking about who's coming to the table, is the VP always at the table? And should there be more people of color at the table in examples like this reconciliation bill?
Well, what Cori Bush is talking about, she's speaking directly for the constituents that she represents. Cori Bush's district is almost 50% black. So she would need to speak up regardless if the president was black, the vice president was black, if all Congress was black. It is her job to represent her constituents, just like Joe Manchin is representing his. She knows who put her in office. She is speaking to that and to that diversity. And what I find interesting is the alleged left allies and even Republicans as well, especially on the left, they're all about black women voting, save Black America. But the moment that someone talks about black people being at the table in those discussions for their districts, all of a sudden it's anti-everything. This is really what's important that I want people to see. Cori Bush was covered widely today for her testimony on abortion, and she should have been covered. Let me make that clear. But there was hardly any to no coverage on this particular statement. It was only here on Black News Channel that we are addressing her demand for black needs. And that is a problem. And I see it a lot on the left, oh, well, you're just being anti everybody. No, being pro-Black is being pro everybody, because once you lift Black people up, everyone is lifted. And rather than go back and forth tonight with Melik, like I normally love doing about Republicans, I wanted to get that out because it's very, very alarming that there is not the diversity that we need in the negotiation process. And that is not letting off VP Harris. She absolutely should be negotiating, but she does not represent a district that is 50% Black, and that is what Cori Bush is doing. And she's saying that we cannot. I did a training today about how this is having the turkey and the sides at Thanksgiving dinner. And what she's saying is we need the turkey and the sides, which is the reconciliation bill, and we need to make sure that Black people are at the table.
Let's make it a 4-course meal. I'm all for that. All right, so Melik, let's move on to Senators Sinema and Manchin. Why are they holding out on signing this reconciliation bill? Is it all about the money, or is it deeper than that? And do you agree with their reasoning?
Yeah, so I think, yes, money is definitely a part of it. And we have this on both sides of the aisle. People consider themselves more fiscally responsible, and in some cases, many cases, much more than where their party is, as far as, fiscal policies and things like that. So the idea is that 100% of all of the senators in Congress on the Democratic side should always vote Democrat. We've kind of seen this even back when Donald Trump was in office, when John McCain was actually called a maverick for giving that infamous thumbs down on the Republicans' effort to kill, Obamacare or the Affordable Care Act. So these type of things do happen all the time. But I think we should also be careful. We should actually put this into context, because I'll give Biden a layup on this. The fact is that many of the things that Biden discussed that he wanted to do in his Lift Every Voice and Sing plan, he's actually doing. The fact is that there's only so many policies that any administration or even Congress itself can do where Black people are specifically spelled out in those policies. It is always a trickle-down approach where Black people benefit from things that are also available to other people. And it's the same thing that happened with the anti-Asian crime bill. It wasn't that was specific to Asians. It actually made it easier to file hate crime charges across the board. And I think the marketing on it, the communication aspect of it, is that when government do these things, that they're going to be doing things specifically for Black people, when the fact is that's not what the government does, which is why across administrations, there aren't things that are specific to Black people outside of HBCUs, I might say.
Mm-hmm. Well, Tezlyn, bottom line here, what do you think is going to happen eventually with this? Will this bill pass, and will the Democrats actually go from $3.5 trillion down to $1.5?
Well, going back to my Thanksgiving analogy, I think Nancy is the cook and it is her house. It is going to be very interesting to see if progressives fold. I think she's absolutely calling their bluff to say, hey, if you said you're going to hold your vote, I believe the infrastructure bill, if it is brought without reconciliation, it's just the same as Nancy saying, hey, we're going to give you turkey, but wait until January to get the macaroni and cheese and the yams. And progressives have said that, no, we want the full plate all at the same time. So it's going to be very interesting, because Joe Manchin was very clear today to say, hey, I have given you all I will give you. I am no different than who I've always been. And so now let's see if these progressives hold out and say, hey, you either give us everything or nothing at all. But I believe, knowing Nancy Pelosi, if she says you are going to pass this without reconciliation, I believe that they will. And that's not being pessimistic. That's just being the reality of how Congress works. And so progressives have to do a better job of selling their message and not biting off more than they can chew. I really worked that metaphor all the way through, by the way.
Yeah, I know. You making me hungry up in here now. But you know what, Tezlyn? On a serious note, you brought up Cori Bush's talk earlier, and it was an emotional testimony that she gave where she actually spoke about being raped as a young girl and having an abortion. And on the other side of this conversation, you have Senator Manchin, who says that he will not vote yes unless the Hyde Amendment is also included in this reconciliation bill. And for those that don't know, the Hyde Amendment bans using federal Medicaid to cover almost all types of abortions. So, Melik, let's start with you on this one. What do you make of all this?
Yeah, so abortion is one of those issues that it doesn't matter how much you advocate for one side or for the most part, people are not going to agree. It's going to be very difficult to convince pro-life people that at the end of the day, that even though it is a woman's choice what to do with her body, people who are pro-life, they consider that growing body a living thing. So people have conversations about it being an unborn fetus versus whatever. You're not going to be able to convince pro-life people that that is not a living thing that is growing inside of these the bodies of women. So yes, you can say that women have a choice, and I understand that that is definitely the pro-choice argument. But at the end of the day, pro-life people see this as a living person. It is a person growing, and so to terminate the life, to eliminate the life of that living being is something that they're just going to be against. So this doesn't surprise me at all. We're going to have this conversation about pro-choice versus pro-life well beyond our years here on this earth. So this is just a common conversation that we have, and it is indeed a culture war. I don't think we're ever going to come to an agreement on it, though.
Well, Tezlyn, is there any middle ground then, especially with consideration to this reconciliation bill and Manchin saying it must be included?
Well, just like Melik said, that pro-life people will always be pro-life because they believe that it's a living thing. You know, I'm here to remind Melik that also pro-choice people will never believe that pro-life people are really about pro-life, because these same pro-life people support the death penalty. These same pro-life people are against passing the George Floyd Justice and Policing Act, which is taking Black lives 5 times more than everybody else when they call 911. So there's a lot of hypocrisy when we talk about this issue with pro-life versus pro-choice. But what I will say this, although I do appreciate having the women of color testify today, I think it is important to also remind folks that white women also have abortions as well. So when we talk about, I didn't, to be honest with you, I really didn't like the optics. I didn't like that the white lady was on the side to be pro-life, as if white women do not also have abortions. At the end of the day, women have the right, according to the law, to be able to decide if they want to terminate their pregnancy or not. And it is not for the Republican Party to determine what is moral and not moral, because as it stands right now, they are in no position to be the morality judge of anyone based upon their record and the record of the United States of America.
Well, it looks like we still have a lot of work to do to come to some type of common grounds on all of this stuff. So I'm sure you all will keep us posted on any changes, and we'll have to have you back on when we get closer to deciding what's going to happen with this reconciliation bill. Tezlyn and Melik, thank you both so much for this informative conversation.